Hey, what's going on everyone? On today's Eye on Hakko, I will be talking about a brand new dual-port soldering station from Hakko. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure you stick around. All right, welcome back everybody. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Eye on Hakko. As always, my name is Kenta, and as promised, on today's Eye on Hakko program, I will be going over the FX-972. It's a brand new dual-port soldering station. It's actually a 200-watt soldering station, brand new from Hakko, and it's called the FX-972. In today's webinar, I'll be going just briefly over the basic specs and features of the 972. I'll be going over the different hand pieces or accessories that you can use and attach on the 972. I'll dive into a little bit of the operation, how to set up and use the 972. And last but not least, I'll go over how to make use of the Hakko control software. So that's what we're looking at today. There's a lot of information that I want to cover and tell you guys about the 972. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Like I said, it's called the FX-972. It's a dual port soldering station, so it has two channels. It's a 200-watt soldering station. You can see on the display, the left-hand side represents channel 1. The right-hand side of the display represents channel 2. You'll see preset numbers, you'll see set temperatures, you also see live sensor temperatures displayed in the large numbers up top. You also see the colored icons showing you which channels are active or which channels are on standby. There's also the handpiece icons that show you which handpiece are currently connected to the 972 itself. There's a lot to cover today. Let me just start off by going over the basic specs, all right? 972, like I said, it's a 200-watt soldering station, right? There's a total of 8 different handpieces that you can actually plug into the 972. So there's the standard, we have the standard nitrogen version, we have a micro iron, we have a micro nitrogen version, we have regular rework tweezers, we have micro rework tweezers, we have a heavy duty iron, and we also have a heavy duty nitrogen version. So in total, there's 8 different handpieces that you can actually use on the FX-972. Now you can use any combination of the 8. You can plug it into either one, channel 1 or channel 2. Having that capability to use a heavy duty iron or a rework tweezer or a micro iron or micro rework tweezer or maybe even 2 standard irons plugged into both channels, that gives it, the 972 makes it a very versatile station, the FX-972, right? You can use it for not only standard soldering assembly applications, but you can also use it on touch-up, rework applications as well. If you need to use tweezers for rework or regular soldering assembly, standard irons as well. Again, 972, 8 different hand pieces, giving it that versatility to work on assemblies or rework or touch-up applications within your factory, all right? The set temperature range on the 972 is actually capable of anywhere from 120 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 940 degrees Fahrenheit. But side note, that does depend on the actual handpiece that you're using. So if you're using a standard micro or any one of our rework tweezers, the set temperature range is actually 120 Fahrenheit all the way up to 850 degrees Fahrenheit. And that window opens up to 940 degrees only when you're using the heavy duty iron, okay? So again, when you're using the standard, micro, or any one of the rework tweezers, the set temperature is 120 Fahrenheit to 850 Fahrenheit. But if you're using the heavy duty iron, then the temperature window or range is 120 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 940 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And I'll get into the handpiece in detail a little bit later down the road. But continuing back to the station itself, the station does have all of the useful features that you'll find in many of our Hakko soldering stations, like sleep function, where you can control and set the sleep time as well as the sleep temperatures. There's also the auto shut-off time that you can set and program the auto shut-off times as well. There's the offset feature, but you'll find on our newer stations like the 972, if you use the FG100B or FG101B Hakko tip thermometers and testers, you can send that offset information in wirelessly, making that process a whole lot easier, right? There's also 5 preset temperatures that you can program into the station. So you can actually turn on or off any one of the 5 presets. You can obviously change your preset temperatures as well. And last but not least, there's also the Hakko control software. The control software comes included with the station itself, so there's no additional cost that is required, all inclusive. What the Hakko control software, I'll get into that in the very end portion of the video, but the control software is very useful when you're trying to set up your station. It makes the setup process a whole lot easier, and you can also record tip temperature data and your auto offset feature, record that temperature data as well. So I'll get into all of that. And before I jump right into the operation of the station, let's talk a little bit about each of the individual handpieces and accessories that you can use on the FX-972. There's 8 different handpieces that you can use with the FX-972. Today I'm going to cover 5 of them because 3 of them are the nitrogen versions of the soldering irons. I have all 5 versions set up here in front of me. When you want to use the nitrogen handpieces, you will need a separate nitrogen accessory. If you don't have nitrogen plumbed in within your facility, we got that covered for you. You can use the FX-780 and our regulators to produce nitrogen, hook it up to the nitrogen handpieces, and you're ready to go. But to start off with, let's start off with the FX-9701 and the FX-9702. Those are the standard soldering irons. These 2 versions, 9701 is a standard and the 9702 is the nitrogen version of the standard iron, right? Now the kit part numbers are the FX-9701-011 for the regular and the FX-9702-011 for the nitrogen handpiece kits. Now what you get in the kit is what you see in the image there. You get the iron, one of the irons, whichever one you choose. You get one of the irons, you get the iron holder, you get the cleaning sponge, and you also get the cleaning brass wire. Now tips are sold separately, so please remember to choose or select the proper tip shape that best suits your application, right? Now the standard iron, the 9701 and the 9702, it's 100 watts of power. Right, so immediately you'll see an increase in performance within our standard iron itself. The new series of tips that you'll be able to use, it's a completely new series of tips. They're called T39 series of tips, okay? Better performing tips. You'll find over 60 tip shapes that you can choose from in the T39 series of tips. You can use the T39 series in both the FX-9701 and the FX-9702 handpieces. Like I said, there's over 60 different tip shapes available in the T39 series. So within that, you'll be able to find the best tip that best suits your application. We have chisels, we have bevels. Within the chisels, we also included a chisel with a groove in it. That's very useful if you're working on through-hole applications. We have chisels that are elongated. It's called the DL tip shapes. The chisel with the grooves are called DR shapes. We have knife shapes. We have bent hook tip shape, like a J tip shape. And we also have spatula tip shapes that are called the T39-SP versions. Those are for BGA, pad cleanup type of applications. So just know, over 60 different tip shapes available. You'll find whatever best suits your application. You'll be able to find in those T39 tip shapes. Okay, so that's the standard iron, right? Moving right along, FX-9703 and the FX-9704, that is our micro soldering iron. So the FX-9703 is our regular micro iron, and the FX-9704 is the nitrogen version of our micro iron. The kit part number for those micro irons are the FX-9703-011 if you're looking for the regular micro iron, and it's the FX-9704-011 if you're looking for the micro nitrogen version. The kit again includes the handpiece, the iron holder, the cleaning sponge, and the cleaning brass wires. The micro iron, the power is 70 watts of power, right? So again, immediately you're gonna notice a massive increase in performance, whether it's the standard soldering iron or the micro soldering iron. Our previous generation of micro soldering irons were 45 watts of power. Now, as I mentioned, it's 70 watts of power, so it's almost double the amount of power that you're gonna feel and get out of the 9703 and 9704 micro soldering irons. So again, you're gonna feel that immense increase in performance. The new tip series to go along with the new micro irons, they're called the T50 series tips. You'll find a total of 8 different tip shapes available. You'll find our commonly used J types, the I tips, the chisel tips like the D1 and the D06. And you'll also find a couple of knife shapes like the KU and the KN tip shapes. But what we've added in with the new T50 series is our T50-D04 and T50-D02. A couple of new tip shape additions coming to you in the T50 series of tips, okay? Now those two handpieces, the standard and the micro, those are two handpieces or accessories that you're able to use on the FX-971, which is our single port soldering station. So I'm sure though that was a little bit of a refresher course for you guys. You can also use on the 972, okay? Now moving right along to the different handpieces. From here on out, these are additional handpieces that you can only use on the FX-972, okay? The FX-9705 is the next one. It's our regular Rework Tweezer handpiece. It's called the FX-9705. This handpiece is 190 watts of power, right? They're meant to rework and remove, if you want to remove any chips, capacitors, resistors. You can even remove SOP components as well. Tip shapes, we have 14 different tip shapes available, ranging anywhere from like a pointed I shape that has like a 0.5 millimeter tip end. You'll also find L shapes that are more like a flat chisel tip shape. You'll find like a L2, you'll also find a L3. There's also a L6, L8, L10. There's also L13 and L16. Depending on the size of like a SOP component, you want to pick the proper tweezer tip shape that's available to you. There's also angle tip shapes as well. So if you need to work under a microscope, it helps you work under the microscope, giving you that angle, okay? Okay, so this is what the FX-9705 handpiece, this is the handpiece itself. The difference between the other tweezer is that it has 2 levels of adjustment capabilities built into the handpiece itself. One is this by turning the dial that you see here, and there's another set of dials, one on the left and one on the right. First of all, starting off with this dial allows, as you rotate, what it will allow you to do is it's actually moving the vertical alignment, right, by turning this dial. And these 2 dials on either side of the handpiece, what that is doing is, as I turn here, what it's doing is moving the tips forward and backwards. So using any combination of those 2 dials, you want to make sure that the tips are properly aligned, like so. And once everything is aligned, and then there's this notch built in. There's a section of the tip where you can fit it in place, make sure they align properly, and that's your final adjustment, and it's ready to go. Now you also see a few slots for tip storage. And as far as tip removal, you can also use these slots built into the left-hand side and also on the right-hand side of the iron holder. So when you want to remove the left-hand side, put it into the left and remove like so. Same thing on the right-hand side, put it in and pull back and remove like so. Whenever you're exchanging your tips, these tips that are used up on the back for storage, these should already be cooled off. So you want to make sure your station is turned off at that point if you have the tweezer handpiece plugged in. And insert your tips all the way in. And from here, again, what you want to do is use a combination of these dials that'll adjust back and forth, and also this one that's going to be moving vertical alignment on the right hand side. So let me take a few minutes to go ahead and do that. There we go, and then one final vertical adjustment, and then from here, again, use the tip, and you're ready to go. Okay, so again, the FX-972, they're Rework tweezers, meant for removing chips, components, capacitors, resistors, and even small to medium-sized SOP components as well. 14 different tip shapes, 190 watts of power. Great for any kind of rework applications. Okay, so that's the FX-972. The next handpiece that we have available on the FX-972 is called the FX-972. It's another type of rework tweezer, but this time it's more for micro applications. So the FX-972, they're micro rework tweezers. Wattage on the FX-972 is 140 watts of power. So maybe if you remember on the micro iron, I mentioned that it's 70 watts of power. We'll just think that this is 2 micro irons on both sides, 70 plus 70, so it gives you that 140 watts of power, right? So that's the FX-972, 140 watts of power. New series of tips, they're called the T52 series of tips. There's a total of 7 different tip shapes that you can select from. There's I shapes, there's J shapes, there's L types, and there's the K types, right? Depending on the application or the component you're trying to remove, you want to select the tip that best suits your needs, right? You can use the micro tweezer FX-972 if you want to remove 0201s or even down to the 01005 component level. The difference though between the FX-972 and 9706 rework tweezer is that the 9706 has 4 different adjustment capabilities built in. The 9705 had 2, but the 9706 has 4. So you'll find one dial here, another one there, and you'll find 2 on the collar section of the handpiece. So this dial you can rotate, right? And what that dial will do is you'll be able to adjust again the height, right? This dial, as you dial it in and out, you'll be able to adjust the width in between the tip. So I can close it in there, or you can see I could open up. So that adjusts the width in between the 2 tips, right? And then there's a couple of more. If you look at the collar section of the handpiece, I'm gonna take a look at from the side. This one up top, that allows you to rotate the tip. So if you're using like a conical tip, it really doesn't matter, but if you're using like any one of our L shapes or like a J shape like I have here, being able to rotate the tip end really helps you when you want to properly fine-tune the alignment, right? And then you get that on both sides, right? And then the last adjustment is the section here. It's like a dial. As I turn that dial, what you can do is, again, this is where the tips will move forward or back. And again, that just gives it the flexibility to be able to just fine tune your alignment on your tip ends. Because since you're working on such micro level components, every bit of adjustment does matter to ensure that you get the proper contact when you're working down with that micro level. And once you have everything set up, one thing I'll point out is this is the proper way you want to be holding your hand pieces, right? And gently squeeze in to make sure you get the proper contact. You don't want to be grabbing the handpiece like this, because sometimes what happens when you're grabbing the handpiece as such is you get that twisting action, and that's going to throw off the alignment. So you want to hold it like so. Make sure this fits nicely over your hand right here, and just gently remove your component. Now, when talking about the tip removal method, there are, on the other iron holders, we're using this section right here to remove the tips, right? But for the micro FX-972, the tip removal mechanism is built in at the top part of the iron holder. So there's two slots here, one on the left, one on the right. So you just want to fit it in here. There's a tab up top here. So you just want to make sure you hold down on the tab and remove like so. Same thing on the right hand side, fit it into the slot, press down on the tab, and you can remove the tips, right? And again, tip holder slots on the back end of the iron holders. These tips should be already cooled down when you need to remove them, when you need to replace them, sorry. Just make sure your station is turned off, and grab your tip and put it in. But when you're inserting these tips into the 9706, there are indicator arrows on both the tip and the handpiece. So you just want to make sure that they line up properly to fit it in, all right? That's letting you know that, yes, the tips are all the way in. And then once the tips are in, you just make use of all of the different, up to 4 different adjustments that you have access to, right? To just give it that proper contact. And once you're done, you're ready to use. These tips that I have here, you can grab them and put them back like so. All right, so again, 9706, a little bit different from the other Rework tweezer, 4 different adjustment capabilities, and the way you remove the hot tips is a little bit different compared to the other iron holders. Still 140 watts of power, great performing micro Rework tweezer. Now the last accessory, or the last handpiece that I'm going to be going over is our heavy-duty iron, and it's called the FX-972. And we also have a nitrogen version of the heavy-duty iron, and it's called the FX-972. Okay. Now the kit for the FX-972 regular heavy-duty iron is called the FX-97207-011, and the kit for the nitrogen version of the heavy-duty iron is called the FX-9708-011. Okay. Now the heavy-duty iron is 200 watts of power. All right. So the micro iron was 70 watts. Our standard iron was 100 watts. The heavy-duty soldering iron is 200 watts. Right. The tip series for the heavy-duty iron, they're called T53 series of tips. And in the T53 series of tips, you can use them both on the regular and the nitrogen version, obviously. But in the T53 series, you get 14 different tip shapes available. Anywhere from conical, bevel, chisels with grooves in it, to also we have a slotted tip in there as well, and a knife tip in there as well. 14 different shapes available in the T53 series of tips. Again, this is a new accessory that you can only use on the FX-972, but the way you remove the tips, the hot tips, is similar to our standard and micro irons, where you can use the slot on the right hand side. Again, that's for standard regular irons. That's for the nitrogen. slide it into the regular side and pull back. You have a few slots for the tip slots. Plug it in and you're ready to go, right? Real simple and easy. And on all of our iron holders, like I said, you get the cleaning sponge. You also get the cleaning brass wire. But I forgot to mention, you also get a couple of different features. Is that you also get that 15-degree tilt where you have this knob. You can loosen this up and you can adjust the receptacle angle to a comfortable angle that you prefer working with. There's also this tab back on all of our iron holders, right? That you press down on the tab, take the cover off, and you can clean out any kind of solder debris that's piled up in your iron holder. Now you also notice that all of our newer iron holders, they're cordless now, so you don't have to be connected from the iron holder to the station. It's cordless, it's wireless. So you're free to actually move around the iron holder wherever you want to. It gives you a lot of freedom. I even see some people move the station itself down below the workbench. So the station is down below, and up top on the workbench space, they just have the iron holders and the iron. It frees up a lot of benchtop space, right? So new iron holders, new hand pieces, new series of tips. It's a lot of new tips. Four different hand pieces that you can use in addition to the 4 that you can use on the regular iron, but on the 972, there's a total of 8 that you can use, right? Standard nitrogen, micro nitrogen, regular tweezers, micro tweezers, heavy duty, and heavy duty nitrogen handpiece. Again, 972 gives it that versatility to be able to work on whatever type of application that you're looking to work on, okay? So those are the different handpieces that you can use on the FX-972. Now I want to get into the nitty-gritty. I want to talk about the actual operation and how to use the FX-972. Now, a lot of it is similar to our FX-971 single port soldering station. You get a lot of the same features, but the only difference is being that the 972 is a dual port soldering station, you have control over 2 channels independently. You have some buttons lined up, you have indicator lights, one's on, one's off. You can see on the display, I have a left-hand side, and I also have a right-hand side when you're looking at the main display. You can see that it says off, and you can see there's no light on channel 2 because channel 2 is off, right? Channel 1 is on, and you can see a solid blue indicator light, meaning that channel 1 is on, right? Okay, so starting off on each side, what you're gonna get is, this is the preset number. It says P3, that's your actual preset number. And then next to the preset number, you have your set temperature, right? And above your preset number and your set temperature, you have another value. All right, that's your live sensor temperature. You just saw that it went from SLP. That's because it went into sleep mode. And as soon as I picked up the iron, it recovered and reached its set temperature once again at 750, okay? So again, preset number, preset temperature, and your actual live sensor temperature. Now if I go ahead, and this is the iron that I'm using, touch it to a sponge, you can actually see it react as I'm touching the wet sponge here, right? And then it comes back, okay? Now, down underneath, you're gonna get icon. There's a soldering iron icon, and there's also a tweezer icon. That lets you know at any given time which hand pieces are connected to your FX-972 iron. On channel 1, I have the soldering iron icon, and it says M. That's small, medium, large. and small large for the tweezer. So medium soldering iron on channel 1, which is what I have plugged in here. This is the FX-972 standard soldering iron, and that's what it shows to be connected on channel 1. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. That's why I had it turned off. Let me grab, let's say, I'll grab one of my other hand pieces here. And while it's still off, I'm just gonna plug in the handpiece to channel 2. And you notice that the soldering iron icon, L for large, popped up. That means I have my heavy duty iron, which is the FX-9707, plugged in to channel 2. Still, it's off, but just wanted to show you that yes, it does recognize which handpiece that is connected to the station. It recognizes it automatically. And if I want to turn it on, I just press and hold down. Now it's going to try to get to its set temperature. Okay? Now, another thing to know on the main display is anytime you want to make edits to either channel, channel 1 or channel 2, what you first need to do is use this selector button and toggle through either channel, right? So if I want to make edits to channel 1, I press the selector button, make sure that bar is on the channel 1, and from here I can change my temperature using my preset function. Or I can also change my temperature by press the temperature button, temperature icon pops up, and then from here I can toggle through and change my temperature to whatever I desire. Again, I just went over a couple different ways you can change your temperature settings. One is to use the preset method, which I like to use. Actually, honestly, it's a lot faster for me by pressing the presets, selecting the preset that I want, boom, boom, hit enter, and then off I go. Whereas, the temperature method is simple enough, but there's just a little bit more, a few more buttons that I need to press and toggle through in order to change my temperature from one temperature to the other, okay? So that's how you change the temperature. So I went over the preset, I went over the selector button, I went over the temperature button. That temperature button also acts as the enter button. And there's also the sleep button. The sleep feature that's built into the station itself, right? It can activate by time. So anytime you set the time, specific amount of time, whether it's 5 minutes or 1 minute, you can select, specify anywhere from 1 to 29 minutes. It'll activate depending on the time that you program it, or if you simply press this sleep button on the station itself, like right now I'm on channel 2, right? If I press the sleep button, boom, I just put it into sleep mode. And now I pick up channel 1 iron, it reaches set temperature. And then if I want to put that into sleep mode, I can wait a minute because that's what I have programmed in there currently. Or I can use the selector button to move it over to channel 1 and hit sleep. So there's a couple different ways that you can put your irons into sleep mode. One is by time, or one is manually by pressing the sleep button. Okay. Now that sleep button that you see on the main display, that also acts as kind of like a back button. Okay. So when can you use the back button? Anytime, say you enter like a offset mode. I entered offset, pressed the offset button. I entered offset mode by accident. I don't really want to, enter any kind of offset because I'm good right now, right? But you just want to get out of there. That's when you hit the back button, and you're back to normal operation, right? So you can pick it up again. Say you go in there, you enter preset, but you don't really want to change it. Just hit the back button and you're back to normal operation. The last feature or function that you'll find useful on our new model stations, including the FX-972, is this offset button and the offset feature, okay? So for now, let me move over the to channel 1, right? The offset feature. Now, most of our Hakko products, whether it be newer products or older and existing products, we already have built in the offset feature into our stations and products. But what you'll find as I went over with the FX-971, the FX-805 and FX-305, what you'll find with our newer generation of products is that the offset feature, you can do it wirelessly, and by doing it wirelessly, it makes that process a whole lot easier and a whole lot safer. And I'll show you what I mean safer. Okay, so in order to make full use of our offset feature, the wireless offset feature, you're gonna need to use one of our Hakko FG100B or 101B tip testers, right? So that's what you see on the image. Up top is the FG100B tip thermometer, and down below is our FG101B. It's a tip tester where you can not only do tip temperature recordings, but millivolts and resistance measurements as well. Today I have the 100B, and I'm gonna use that to show you an example. So I have channel 1 and my iron set to 700 degrees Fahrenheit, all right? And then I'm just gonna use my FG100B and make a measurement, right? This is a standard chisel shape. It's a D24 standard chisel shape that I have attached here. Again, it's set at 700 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna make sure I press that auto button, because that auto button, what that's gonna do, is gonna give me a measurement of the stabilized tip temperature. And I'm just gonna take a measurement, right? And I'm just gonna wait till that auto stabilizes. There, okay. Now you see from my thermometer that it says 707 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's my measured temperature. Compared to my set temperature, which is 700 degrees Fahrenheit, that's pretty darn good to begin with. So honestly, there's really no need for me to offset anything at this point. I'm good to go. I'm happy where I'm at. But just for, demo purposes, I'm gonna show you how to use this offset feature. If you wanna make it within a tighter window, or if you ever find that your tip temperatures are drifting off a little bit because you've been using it for a month or two, then, if your measured temperatures are off from your set temperatures, this is how you use the wireless offset feature, okay? So again, first things first, you wanna make sure you hit the selector button and make sure you're on the right channel. So right now I'm on channel 1, right? So I go to channel 1, and then I hit the offset button. The offset icon appears up top, and then the offset value appears down here below. Right now I'm at 0. And from here, I have my measured temperature of 707 degrees Fahrenheit. And then underneath the auto button, there's a send button. This is a press and hold. And there's a IR sender here and an IR receiver on the station. So what I do is press and hold the send button, and boom. Now the offset value initially was at 0, but now if I check, it says minus 0.7. Again, the Hakko control software, it comes with the station, so there's no additional fee associated with it. Once I open up the application, it says FX-972, and this is actually the serial number that I have attached with the station, right? So it recognizes it, hit start, and there you go, Hakko control software FX-972. That's the ID, that's actually the serial number of my FX-972 that I got here. That's the information that I entered previously. And this is very similar to the Hakko control software on the FX-805 or FX-971. The only difference is that because the 972 is a dual port soldering station, you have 2 channels. Channel 1 channel 2, right? And then you see that currently the status is sleep on channel 1. Currently the status is running on channel 2. It's running at preset 5, set to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And on channel 1 is set to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. These are your offset values for each channel. Again, sleep, it's in sleep, it's at 900. The handpiece that's currently attached, the FX-972, it's a medium iron. The FX-972, it's our heavy duty, large soldering iron. And both channels are on. And if I want to take a look at the presets for each channel, right now these are the presets for channel 1. We're going to take a look at the preset values of channel 2. I just hit channel 2, and here they are. So again, going back and forth like so. And on the right hand side of your screen, this is my actual tip sensor temperatures. So green is channel 1. You can see that the green is gradually decreasing in value or temperature because obviously it's in sleep mode. It's going down all the way down to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Whereas the channel 2, the red, is remaining constant, keeping constant temperature at 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, this is your tip temperature, live tip sensor temperature information. You can choose to start recording or stop recording anytime you want, or you can choose to autosave. What autosave will do is anytime you turn on the station, as long as you have your Hakko control software up and you have this autosave box checked off, anytime you turn on the station, then it'll automatically start recording your tip temperature information, okay? Now, going over the different icons down here below, that's your temperature icon. This is how you change your temperature. Again, you can do everything through the station, right? But channel 1, channel 2, you can change the tip temperature to whatever it is you want. Hit confirm, and I just changed my temperature on channel 1. All right, if I want to go to 940 degrees on channel 1, I hit confirm. It says update failed. Why is that? Because on channel 1, I have the regular soldering iron attached. And for a regular soldering iron, the maximum temperature is 850 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, it recognizes that I don't have a heavy duty iron plugged into channel 1, so it's not allowing me to do so. So hit it to set temperature, for example, there. And I'm just gonna reduce this to 900 from maybe 700. And there. So anyway, that's your temperature, temp change icon. The icon next to it, this is your offset change icon or window. Right, anytime you want to change the offset, you can put in a value here. This is from our previous my previous demonstration. We input in a -7 offset on channel 1 using the FG100B. I can change that back to 0 and hit confirm. And now you can see that the input offset value updated from -7 to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, you can do that for both sides. Whenever you're working with the wireless offset feature and you're using the Hakko control software, whatever channel that you're working on, you just use this channel icon and make sure, right now it's on channel 1. So whenever you send that information, it's going to record it onto channel 1. If you want to do it to channel 2, make sure you're on channel 2 like so, okay? The next icon I have here, this is the setting icon. I call it the parameter setting icon. I'm going to maximize it so it's easier to see. This is where it's very useful to make your system settings. A while ago, I showed you just through the station, turning off the station, pressing the up button, turning on the station, gets you into the system parameters, right? And you go through I was toggling through the different parameter numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. And I was able to get into the back end or the system parameters to make the proper setup that I want. Here, you can do it a lot easier. It's all on one page, and you can save this information, right? Give it a name. You can move over to a different FX-972, and you can just simply dump all that information with the click of a button. It's very useful, and I like to use it a lot. It's useful especially for our customers that have maybe 10 to 20 971s or 972s lined up within their facility. They make one system setting, they save that, give it a name, dump that into one machine, unplug it, plug it into the next machine, and dump that same information and go on from one machine to the next, so on and so forth. Makes it a lot easier. So let me show you what I'm looking at. So parameter settings, up top, sleep menu, you can turn that on or off. Shut off, you can turn that on or off. You can also adjust the time on the shut off, anywhere from, like I said, 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Remember, while I was playing around in the system settings, I changed it to 40 minutes. Well, I can actually change it back to 30, right? Error alarm, I had it off. Ready alarm, I have it on. I can actually turn that off. Password lockouts, you can turn any one of these off, on or off. Automatic channel switching, right now I have it off, but I can turn this on, and I'll show you how that changes things a little bit. And here is where I input the ID of the station. This is the actual serial number of the station that I input into the station. So it records that to the station. And over on the right-hand side of the screen, you have your main settings, or your main temperature settings. You have channel 1 over here, and you have channel 2 on the right-hand side. So starting with the top, you have your current set temperature, you have your current offset values here, and down below you have preset 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are your preset temperatures, preset 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pre-programmed preset temperatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for channel 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for channel 2. And again, you have that capability to adjust any one of those preset temperatures. And down below that, again, it's still with the presets, but down below you have that capability to turn on or off any one of your presets, right? So let's say channel 1, I had preset 5 turned on, but I can just turn, for example, I'll turn 4 and 5 off, and I won't make any change to the other side. Then down below, this is your sleep activation time. Like I said, I have 1 minute and 5 minutes. On channel 1, it's 1 minute activation sleep, and channel 2 is 5 minute activation. This is your sleep temp. You can change that anywhere from 390 to 580, as you can see here. And the last area on the below is whether you want to turn on or off each of your channels, right? So I made a few, maybe like 2 or 3 changes, right? I made changes to the preset here. I made changes to the ready alarm, and I also changed the activation time, shut off activation back to 30. Once you're done making the changes, you can either save that information, or if you want to just dump that information straight to the station, you hit confirm. And boom, that beep is letting me know that it received that information. So preset 1, and then preset 2, and then preset 3. Before I had 4 and 5 active, but now with the changes, I'm back to 1, 2, 3, and I'm back to 1, 2, and 3. Again, I'm just showing you that it received that information from the software to the station itself. The whole point of me showing you this, that the ease of making and setting up the system parameter changes by using the Hakko control software. There's also the save button. If you click the save button, you can actually give the parameters a specific name, right? So for example, if you look at the past ones that I have saved in my file, under FX-972, you know, there's like FX-972 001, FX-972 demo. You can give it a name and save it, right? And then select the proper name you want, and then you can click save and save it. Once you save it, you can also load it. So right now, if I didn't save anything, but since I made changes, I can call it demo, and you can open that one back up and look at preset 4 and 5, for example, are back on. My sleep activation time is back to 5 minutes on both channels. My ready alarm is back to on, so on and so forth, right? So that's how you can save settings, and you can load it, and you can duplicate it and dump that information onto one station to the next by using the Hakko Control software. You don't have to go in, go into the station, start pushing the buttons. You can still do that, right? But it just takes a lot more time, and using the Hakko Control software makes that process a whole lot easier, right? Okay, the next icon that you see down here below that I'm going to be talking about is a very useful feature. We call it the Auto Cal feature. What this is the wireless offset feature, but by using the Hakko Control software, what it will allow you to do is you can actually record that information to the control software and to your computer as well. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I click that icon, it says auto calibration. Right now I'm on channel 2, so it says set conditions if required and start. So I go from here to there. So I click that button. This is where I set my conditions. Right now I have my temperature range set to a plus or minus of 18 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum number of retries I have is 3. And since I'm not using the tip tester, I have the tip to ground potential and resistance measurements turned off. Once I confirm it, it says to start, so I click start. And I'm gonna be measuring the channel 2. So on channel 2, what I have here set on my station is I have a FX-972 Heavy-Duty iron set to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I'm gonna take my FG100B that I have here. So you see 900, right, and I have my Heavy-Duty 9707 plugged in, and I'll go ahead, use my FG100B again and make a tip measurement. So I'm going to turn on the auto function on my 100B. I'll have my auto feature turned on, and let's take a measurement. There you go. I'm just going to wait again till that auto stabilizes. And it may take a few seconds. Let it stabilize there. And what I got was 909 degrees Fahrenheit. And my set temperature is 900. So if we go back to the control software portion of the software right here, it says after measuring the tip temperature, send it by infrared transmission. So once again, I have it set to 909. I'm about to send this information and watch what it will pop up on the software. So I'm going to send it by infrared transmission. Boom. There you go. Result pass. It gives me the timestamp, the result, and the temperature that I measured, 909, matches what I measured on my FG100B. At that point, you can stop it. This is like your history icon. So you go back in time. You can actually narrow down your results based on ID or channel. You can also narrow it down by handpiece, for example. Right now I have, or date. Right now I have everything opened up, so I go ahead and just search, and these are the results that I get. The latest results that I done just now is this one. That's my ID on channel 2, my handpiece, my 9707 heavy-duty handpiece, and the results, along with my set temperature, my tolerances, and all that good stuff, also pops up on the right-hand side of this window. Now you'll also be able to find this information saved onto your computer. It's under the C drive, program files, Hakko Control software, and within that folder you'll see this AutoCal result folder. You open that up, it'll automatically save this information into that folder. And the latest one was at about 3:30. This one 972. And here is the latest information. So let me just open this up and open that up. So there you go. There's the station ID. There's a channel 2 with a 9707 heavy-duty iron that I just tested. Set temperature was at 900. My temperature limit was plus or minus 18 degrees Fahrenheit. The measured temperature was 909 degrees Fahrenheit, which is well within my tolerance of plus or minus 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means that there is no offset input and I'm good to go. If I were to have used the FG101B tip testers and I set the conditions accordingly, then I could have recorded the tip to ground and resistance values as well. All right, so it stores this information automatically for you. So again, anyone who is currently doing this type of process, taking tip measurements, having to record that on a piece of paper, and then having to transfer that written information onto a computer, like on an Excel file, we've now just eliminated that process completely by making the Hakko control software available, connecting it to any one of our new stations, the 971, FX-971, FX-972, FX-305, FX-805, any one of those. By connecting the station to the Hakko control software, it'll automatically save that information for you. So again, you don't have to worry about the miscalculations. You don't have to worry about anyone mistakenly writing down the wrong information, and from writing down the written information, entering the wrong information onto the computer. You don't have to worry about any of that. It eliminates all that for you, does it automatically. It's a nice way to keep track of your temperature data. Again, that's using the Hakko control software AutoCal feature on the Hakko control software. Okay, so that was going back to the control software. That was the AutoCal result. And again, you can do that for either channel 1 or channel 2. Okay, what's remaining of the Hakko control software is, let me go back, cross this out, minimize that. This other icon that you see here, that's just switching from one channel to the next, back and forth, active or inactive, right? You see that active go back and forth there. So even though this side's active, you'll notice that the other non-active or standby side is still able to maintain tip temperature at whatever we set it to, 750, 750, right? On the FX-972, you can use both channels at the same time. You can use them in alternating fashion, or you can use one at a time. That's totally up to you. You can use it whatever your preference is, whatever handpiece you like to use. You can plug into either channel 1 or channel 2. There's no restrictions, right? Again, it makes the 972 it's a very, very versatile station for anyone looking to work on a soldering, whether it be assemblies, repairs, or rework, or touch-up applications. The FX-972 is the solution for you. And again, the Hakko control software makes it a whole lot easier. It's all included, no additional cost that you have to pay for the software, right? Now, I appreciate for all of you who stuck around to the very end. If you do have any questions, you can reach back out to us. You can give us a call. It's 1-800-88-HAKKO. That's 1-800-88-HAKKO. And that'll get you through to one of our customer service representatives. Or you can email us at support@HakkoUSA.com. Now again, I appreciate everyone participating and watching this webinar on the FX-972. There was a lot of information to cover, and I just know you're gonna love this new station, man. So I'm really excited. I was really excited to show this to you guys. And again, thank you very much for paying attention to the end. And we'll see you next time, right? Next product we'll have coming out, we're gonna keep pumping out new products one after another. This isn't the last one. And again, thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Remember, keep your eye on Hakko. Thank you.